This meeting is being recorded.
Well, hey, family. Welcome on back to Love Restored. I am your host, Marshaun Olaniyan, and you are listening to KCCR, the Brownstone. Head over to thebrownstoneworldwide.com where you can check out everything that's going on. And today, I am talking about happiness and how it is a choice. Again, I am your girl, Marshaun Olaniyan. Thank you so much for checking in with me. One of the reasons why I started to speak about Love Restored and create this channel here is because many of you, like myself, did not get taught the things that we were supposed to get taught by our parents or our guardians when we were growing up, and specifically in the Black community. So, what I'm trying to do is break down the generational curses that have been plaguing our community for decades and even centuries at this point. And I don't want to go way back. However, I do want to bring in our history as a part of this, because one of the reasons why we lack the relational, beautiful relationships, if you will, most, right? Not all, but most of us lack this because our parents did not teach us the things that we needed to know with being in a relationship, and definitely not how to choose a partner and how to really cultivate a healthy, loving marriage. Now, I'm not knocking our parents in any way, because we have some things, some baggage in our history, i.e. slavery, right? So when our ancestors got brought over from Africa, whether they were sold, however they got over here, right? They were brought over here, they were tricked to come over here. In any event, our ancestors were enslaved here in the United States of America. And because of that, we didn't really get taught, nor did we just see how to cultivate these healthy relationships, right? Because there was so much trauma from our ancestors and all the things that they were carrying with them, that unfortunately our generation and our parts of people that are now growing up are our our parents, but also ourselves, and now our children and even grandchildren are coming up, and a lot of this stuff, i.e. the trauma, we are passing down from generation to generation. And so because of that, what I'm trying to do by being here, creating this avenue at Love Restored, is to break those generational curses, one conversation at a time, one relationship at a time, literally as one individual in the relationship. And so I also further created a group specifically curated with Black women in mind, where we come together. It is a paid group where we come together and we discuss all the things that are weighing up on us heavily and stopping us from creating these beautiful relationships. And so on Love Restored today, one of those pieces, one of those strategies, or one of those tools that we can use on how to cultivate a beautiful relationship and a beautiful marriage is our happiness. Now, some people get caught up in thinking that happiness is something that their spouse is supposed to do for them, is supposed to make or create for them, right? But the truth of the matter is, happiness is something that is within you. It is a choice, which is why we are discussing chapter 2 out of my book Reignite Your Relationship by 7X by your girl Marshaun Olaniyan. And this is what we're discussing today. Happiness is a choice. It is chapter number 2 within the book. And again, your spouse cannot make you happy. That is something that you are adding pressure toward, and we don't want to do that to your spouse. So for these next 30 minutes on KCCR, the Brownstone, we will be discussing happiness is a choice with your girl, Marshaun Olaniyan. So now, if you have not headed over to the brownstoneworldwide.com and checked it out, definitely make sure that you go ahead and do that. And if you want to connect with me outside of Love Restored, then definitely check me out at www.marshauno.com. Again, that's www.marshauno.com. So let's go ahead and jump into today's topic. Happiness is a choice. Now, before I jump heavily into it, I do want to read to you a quote that I have, because I love quotes, and I have a quote at the beginning of every topic. So I will be reading every quote each episode. So happiness is your choice. Once you learn how to create your own happiness, no one can take it from you, by Robert II. Again, once you learn how to create it, no one can take away your happiness. And that's the thing. You have to create your happiness. It is not something for most people that just is on them, is in them. Now, there are people out there like myself. I'm super happy. I'm super optimistic. There is something about me where I am choosing every day to be happy. Some people, it may take them to choose being happy every moment, right? It is a daily choice. It may be a minute by minute choice in order for their happiness to be there, because there's just so much stuff on you and you don't really know how to get all this stuff off of you. But one of the ways to actually get all this stuff off of you is by you making the choice to choose to be happy no matter what's going on. And in the book, I talk about, just life's things that are going to get in the way. And it could be a spouse, right? Something happening with your spouse, whether it's a terminal illness, your spouse could have died, however the death happened. One of your child or children could have passed away for whatever, right? The relationship breaks up. That is something where it feels like a piece of it is also taken away, not just people, but also a breakup or divorce may ensue. And so then we feel like, I can't be happy because this thing occurred, or these things are happening to me. But I'm here to let you know, sis. I'm here to let you know, bruh, that you can choose to be happy at any moment. Like for me, myself, I know that sometimes I can be inappropriate. I'm doing air quotes if you are listening to this, because I have a tendency to find a way to laugh about anything, sometimes even in not the best situations, because life is too short for me. And I would rather laugh away things than to really focus on how negative I am feeling, I am being in that moment. I don't want to do any of that. And so I'm choosing to find some happiness no matter what's going on. I am choosing to find happiness no matter what's going on. And so let's take this happiness into your relationship, because this is how we are going to reignite your relationship by 7X. Happiness is a choice, and knowing that your spouse is not the person that needs to bring it to you, that has to bring this stuff to you, then this will make you better off by being a person that takes responsibility for their own happiness. I remember listening to Will Smith tell his story about him and Jada and how they went down this road of unhappiness, and their marriage was in a tumultuous place. And he said that he had to tell Jada because she was putting all this stuff on him. And she actually admitted, I was asking Will to do all of these things that I was not willing to do for me. I was putting all that pressure on him to make me fulfilled, to make me happy. And he just told her, hey, happiness is your choice. That is something that you have to take your own responsibility about creating your own happiness, whether you are single or whether you are in a relationship. Now, specifically here, we're talking about happiness as a choice, but this is literally your entire life. It is not something that is only about like tunnel vision towards your relationship. No, this is your entire life. You can choose to be happy in no matter what the situation is, right? Because there is nothing that you can do about what happens to you, because life is going to happen to you. It happens to all of us, where things happen, right? Like I said earlier, a breakup, a divorce, so a death in the family, right? Or terminal illness, or a lifelong illness, or, an illness where you go to the doctor and sometimes the doctor can't tell you what the heck is going on, but you know something is going on. I have a personal story about that, where they still to this day cannot tell me what happened. So for some reason, uh, I was getting like this numbness in my legs, and it wasn't the tingling. I can't remember what they did, the restless leg syndrome. It wasn't that. It was something else that they never could put their finger on, and it was always making my legs numb. However, what I discovered is that whenever I continue to just walk, not even heavy exercise, just walking for extended periods of time, meaning at least 15 to 20 minutes per day, right? Because there would be times where I would just sit on the couch, not do anything, kind of hanging out, doing my own thing, right? And not doing anything. And that might have happened over a course of a couple of days, depending on what was going on in my life. Really, that's more of a vacation when that happens, right? So if I have a vacation, I'm mainly just chilling, doing nothing. But I noticed that when I was doing that, my legs would just start to get numb because I was doing no exercise at all. And I was just like, okay. So I finally made some appointments, move the story along. I made some appointments with the doctor, and I basically told him, hey, I noticed that this goes away when I exercise, when I walk, when I'm up moving around. And it may be that I have bad circulation, but the point is they still to this day never came back with a concrete, this is what is happening to you and why this keeps happening to you. Because when I would exercise and then I would go through my bouts of not exercising for months, and then this feeling would come back in my leg, and then I would start exercising again and it would go away. Like currently I haven't felt it in a long time, but I exercise a whole lot more. The point is, when I went to the doctor, the last doctor that I went to, he basically told me, don't stop exercising and you won't have this issue. That literally was his remedy. And I'm like, well, I ain't even really need to come to you for that, because that's what I was actually doing. I was just in a period where I wasn't exercising. So I noticed that that my legs and stuff was aching again and was numb. And so I had to choose to be happy when all of that stuff was going on. And this was decades of trying to figure out what was going on. So the stop, the go, the stop, the go, the numbness, the non-numbness, the numbness, the non-numbness, right? And so I was going through all of that, but I still had to choose to be happy, because again, life is going to happen to each and every one of us. And there's nothing that I could have done about why that numbness feeling was coming on me. That's just like you. If a breakup or divorce happened, I'm sure you had something to do with it, but at the end of the day, it happened. So now are you going to choose to stay stuck in that unhappiness? Are you going to choose to stay stuck with thinking about getting revenge? Are you going to choose to stay stuck with pointing the finger and blaming your spouse as to why things didn't turn out the way that you expected them to turn out, or the way that they should have? Air quotes for those who are listening. Because you have to choose your own happiness. You have to create and cultivate your own happiness no matter what's going on in your life, because it's going to happen. Something is going to occur to you or to somebody that you love that is really close to you that you cannot control. And it's not a matter of what comes on us. It's a matter of how you react and behave once those things come upon your life, or come upon your relationship, come upon your marriage, because something is going to happen that you have no control over. And so you have to really lean into your happiness and cultivating, creating it sometimes on a minute by minute basis. So all of this negativity doesn't stay on you, and it does not fester or go any further, right? You have to remember that you have the power to turn any negative situation into a positive situation just by the way that you think. Now, a fun fact about happiness. I was reading this article, and I can't remember who it was by, but I will say that happiness goes in a bell curve. So we are our happiest when we are kids and we are running around and have no care in the world, and especially it's not really care, it's responsibilities, right? And then it starts to go down, right? So let's say about teenage years, we're about our happiest, or depending on who you are, right? Because I understand that some people it's not, and we all go through uh, depressive states, if you will. So right, so kids happiest, it starts to decline in our 20s. We hit rock bottom in between 20 and 30, in between 30 and 40. And then it starts to curve back up 50, 60, 70, and we get back into our happy state again. So what I was trying to figure out is what is happening in our 30s and 40s where we at rock bottom. And what came to mind is that most of us are married. We're having children, or adding additional children, depending on when you start having children, right? Life starts to happen to us more often because there are more responsibilities, right? Now we become the adults because our parents are now becoming the elderly. And so we're thinking about just all of these different life changes, right? And so around in between your 30s and 40s, you are the least happiest. And again, I just mentioned some of the things that make us that way. Right. So maybe you are a part of that right now where happiness literally needs to be your decision. It needs to be your choice right now because of where you're at in your life. So figure out how to make your life one that's happier, where you are literally making decisions about how you're going to cultivate that. Whether it could be planning out dates with your spouse, weekly, monthly, whatever it is, planning them out depending on what your life looks like. The best relationships have weekly date nights scheduled. Like literally, I'm getting up out of this office because I got a date. Who you got a date with? You married? Yeah, exactly. I got a date with my husband. I got a date with my wife. That's who I got a date with. So making dates and making them more often. Getting babysitters for the children, right? But also being very intentional on the relationship that you are cultivating with your children. So making sure that you have one-on-one time with each child if you have multiple. I have a friend who actually schedules it out. So I was talking to husband and wife, they're both my friends. And so the husband specifically was saying how he has date nights with his wife. So they do theirs bi-weekly for their relationship, right? To make sure that their marriage is strong. And they have 3 children. And so he specifically has date nights with the kids as well. So he has at least 4, no, I'm sorry, 4 every 2 weeks. And then in between those, right? Because I said every 2 weeks. And then in between those times, he also has impromptu dates. But there's 8 scheduled dates that he has with each one of his family members. So wife, as well as the 3 children. So that's 4 dates that he has one-on-one with each of those people. He is cultivating his own happiness to make sure that he's not bogged down, to make sure that each one of his children feels seen and heard, to make sure that they all feel special, as well as his spouse, because that's when the connection comes. And he specifically said that he decided to do that because they have 3 children. They were just in the rat race of parenting, not realizing that their love life together was becoming like this because they were parents, and they stopped putting their relationship first. And they said that they would just be like, oh, I mean, we got a date, but then date night would come and they wouldn't do date night. I'll do it next week. I'll do it next week. And they said they kept doing that and they didn't realize how the disconnection was keeping them distant. And then also they were more frustrated with one another, and they definitely didn't feel like they knew each other at this new phase in their life. And so it really is a choice. Happiness is totally a choice, right? And so I just want to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that you are listening to Love Restore on KCCR, the Brownstone. And if you have not yet, go ahead and check out Brownstone, Brownstone. If you have not checked it out yet, to go ahead and check out thebrownstoneworldwide.com and check out what they have going on. Again, if you want to contact me outside of here, check me out on www.marshauno.com. All right, now let's continue to jump back into this because happiness really is your choice. It is your superpower. It is your superpower that you have to know what you're doing as well as bring into your life and make it intentional because the choice is yours, right? It's in the title. Happiness is a choice. The choice is yours to create the happiness, to cultivate the happiness that you want to have. And fun fact, seriously, if you are a person who is generally negative, if the first thing that you think about when somebody brings you an idea is how it cannot work, you're more pessimistic about things, you also have a tendency to be a person that struggles with depression. Now, of course, that doesn't mean everybody, right? But people that are happy have a tendency to be more optimistic. They are healthier people. They don't go to the doctor as often with ailments. And a lot of times, optimistic / happy people are not necessarily doing it because they're being intentional about doing it. They're just making a choice that I'm not going to let this stuff bog me down. And that's what you have to do, especially if your first thing is to be negative. You are going to have to think about, you know what? I don't want to be like this no more. And then get about the business of not being like that. And what does that mean? That means making out your plan, especially if you struggle with this. Now you have to make out your plan, pen and paper, write out what the plan is to make sure that you're incorporating happiness into your life. And I read that the most successful people have gratitude journals, because what they have a tendency to do is to focus on what is going right in their life versus what is going wrong. So they focus on the positive in their life and in their relationship, whatever it is that they're making sure that they want to be successful in. Because most people, when we think about success, we think about only money. And that's not the only way to be successful. It depends on what your definition of success is. In this case, it could be a successful marriage. What does that look like? How are you going to cultivate a successful marriage and making sure that the both of you are getting what you need out of it so you both are happy? Because it is your choice. It is about what you are deciding to do day in and day out. Day in and day out. And so if you have a mundane routine, you need to spice it up every once in a while. Most people thrive in routines. However, we also have a tendency to take our spouses for granted when we stick to our routines really tough, especially when we start adding little people to our lives, meaning our children. So you got to be very intentional about how you are cultivating this lovely relationship, this beautiful marriage, so you can feel happy to run home, happy to see your spouse instead of, oh, this sucker coming through the door. Or you hear the keys. You hear the keys in the door, or some people even hear the car with the way the car sound, and their mood might change. It's because you haven't made a decision that you're going to be happy and actually stand in that no matter what's going on. Your hard argument, you want to be happy, deal with the argument, but still think about what it is that was the issue, not the problems that you feel that you have with your spouse, the things that your spouse is lacking, that he or she is not doing. That's not how you're going to solve that thing. We have to focus on the facts of what's actually happening. So they feel like, you know what, that's logical. All that emotion that's usually there, this emotionally charged time that we usually have, it's not there. I can actually understand what she's saying. I can hear how it makes sense versus me dealing with, I'm feeling like I'm not doing what I should be doing, at least in your eyes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to follow along with me, we are going through this entire book, this entire season, Reignite Your Relationship by 7X by Marshaun Olaniyan. If you want to pick up your copy, I want you to follow along with me. And if you have any questions, that is when you can reach out to me again on www.marshauno.com, or you can send your message into KCC or the Brownstone, and I will get your message, right? So I want you to pick up the book. Oh, I didn't give you the link. So let me give you the link to pick up the book, which is bit.ly/reigniting relationships. Again, that's bit.ly/reigniting relationships, all in lowercase letters. When you do that, go ahead and order your copy today. Specifically, 1 to 2, you may even want to gift it, right? Some people order them together and then gift one to their spouse. They read them together, have a discussion. So it's totally up to you on how you want to do it. But I absolutely want to help you to break some of these generational curses that are plaguing our community. Now, before I wrap up the show, I want to just give you some fun facts about happiness. some statistics, just the things for you to think about. So, okay, happiness is my choice. So now how am I going to do it? And I gave you one of them earlier, which is about how the happiness is on a bell curve and how we're happiest when we're kids, and then it's lower when we are in our 30s and 40s, and then it starts to rise again. So that was the one of the ones that I did. Also, another fun fact about happiness, it is when we are on the phone, right? I know that we're in a world of technology and we're a lot of hitting buttons because it's a lot faster, right? And I can talk to as many people as I want to via text. However, if you want to slow down, if you want to bring some laughter and happiness into your own life, as well as the receiver's life, pick up the phone. I know that I really can get deep down into a conversation, as well as hear the tone of the message that they're trying to deliver to me while we're actually speaking on the phone. I know even right now, I even tell some of my clients, hey, you got to get away from those serious conversations via text, because just because you said it one way, it may be interpreted another way, because the person cannot see you, they can't read your body language, they can't hear your tonation. And so we have a tendency to read things the way that we think that they are being given to us. And that's not always the case. Sometimes it is the case, but it's not always the case. And so in order to cut down on all of this crap that goes along with texting and texting things out of just out of context, pick up the phone. It makes you happier. It makes the other person happier, and you feel understood as well as heard as well, right? Another fun fact is to surround yourself with happy people. Researchers actually shows that the person that is not as happy, let's put it that way. You're not as happy, you in a slump mood, you're like your shoulders down, life is not treating you well. But if you go around somebody that is happy, somebody that has a smile on their face, somebody that is a very optimistic person, especially if this is your spouse is that optimistic one and you having a horrible day, please get around that person, because research actually shows that your happiness increases by 15.3% just by being in their company of a happy person, of an optimistic person. So get around more happy people, especially if you're the negative one or feeling down and out. Another thing is that equality, specifically in a relationship, and this could be any relationship. Of course, I'm really talking about your significant other or your marriage, but it can happen at the employer level as well, right? And so when you're feeling like you're more equal in the relationship, like your voice matters, you feel heard, you feel understood, you feel appreciated, your happiness raises. I have one ex-client where she was just telling me just the other day how she doesn't feel as happy, appreciated, or heard in her own marriage because her husband is basically a dictator. He makes all the decisions, and it's not so much that he gets her input and makes the final decision. No, he just makes said decision because he's the man. And that doesn't make her feel loved. It doesn't make her feel cherished. It doesn't make her feel like I matter, right? And so she told him, I'm getting tired of not having a voice. And so hopefully he takes heed to what she actually just said right there, because he don't realize she's already starting to check out. And that checking out will continue until, like, she'll be emotionally checked out. She'll be mentally gone. And it's only a matter of her body following the mental gone. And so hopefully he gets it together and tries to figure out how to make it more equal in the relationship, because she's not happy with the inequality within her own marriage. And she's voiced it. And so now it's a matter of what he's going to do with what she's voiced, because you can only go through something by not feeling valued, by not feeling really loved and cherished and honored before it's time for most people to go. So just throwing that out there, especially if you have more of a dictatorship relationship. The last and final thing that I want to bring to you all here today is that you can literally throw away unhappiness. Now, how are you going to do that? You are going to take out a pen and paper. You are going to write down the thing that is making you frustrated and annoyed and feeling like you are unhappy. Literally write it down, pen to paper, Take that paper, ball it up, throw it in the trash can. And what that really does for your entire body is it releases everything. It releases that feeling. It releases those pent up, what am I going to do with these feelings out of you? It's gone. And so when that does occur, you feel like, okay, I can go through this another day. I have physically got rid of those feelings. I want to thank you all for taking the time with me today to hang out with Love Restored with your host, Marshaun Olaniyan. You are listening to KCCR, the Brownstone, again with Marshaun Olaniyan and Love Restored. Definitely do not forget to go to bit.ly/reigniting relationships to pick up your copy today so you can follow along, read the book. Let's have a discussion about it. And I want to hear your questions. Also, go to www.marshauno.com to hit me up, to connect with me outside of Love Restored on KCCR, the Brownstone. I love you guys, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And I will see you in episode 4. Good night.